Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another podcast episode of Haystack Nation. I'm your host, Jesse, and I'm here with Vanessa today.
Yay.
Good afternoon, Vanessa.
Good afternoon, Jesse.
How are you feeling today?
I have a cold, so you'll have to excuse the sneezing or the
Coughing
or the sniffles. But this is dedication right here.
If only people could see you right now and see what you look like. It's
Dedication.
It's a dedication.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people might call it embarrassment and humiliation. Some people might call it funny. But here at Haystack Nation, we try to look at the positive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's about loyalty.
Thankfully,
about dedication.
we don't have any video to show people today.
Yeah. Well, now that would be dedication. If you could, if you'd be open to doing a video, Vanessa, with how you're currently looking, now I would call that.
You know what? Let's do this.
Sincere
we
dedication.
Can do this. However, whoever's listening out there, if you would like to see a picture, this will raise some ratings right here.
Either that will scare everyone away.
Maybe, but that's why it's just you and me today.
This might be one podcast that you don't want to share with anyone else. But this will be a good podcast.
Yeah, it's about love.
It's about love. It's about loving people unconditionally, which applies at this very moment right now.
Yes.
As a husband, to see your wife in this condition.
With tissue stuck up her nose.
That's true love right there. That is true love. But we're going to be talking about love and the biblical kind of love. Okay. And I think it'd be a good opportunity to really discuss this and to see, Vanessa, if we really, truly love each other.
Okay.
This entire month, though, has been full of stuff. I mean, it's been a very eventful month, right? Unfortunately, Evan and Dwayne couldn't be with us today, and we had tried doing this podcast.
We've had several mishaps
and setbacks and
trying
challenges.
to get this February podcast out.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it just came down to the wire. I mean, it just came down to where it's like, you know what? We got to do it now or it's not going to get out.
Yeah.
And how can we let that one fan down? But we had to do it. I mean, there was no way. I mean, we really felt like we had to get this one out, and I'm glad that we were able to sit down, you and I, and have this conversation and have this talk, because I think it's important for all of us to remember what love is, where it comes from, how do we show it, how do we demonstrate it in our lives, and the difference it makes, you know. And I'm just happy that we could do that. I wish Dwayne and Evan were here, because obviously they add so much more to the conversation with their...
Nah. Just kidding.
Hey, I wanted you guys here, okay? Vanessa had other thoughts.
Yes, I did.
No, we just had setback after setback. I mean, when we were going to do this a week or two ago, I made the very smart move of setting everything up and forgetting our power cord. Yep. And we had no way of powering the board or anything else. And so we couldn't do it. And then... and
I got sick.
And then you got sick. And then I got sick. And
I'm sick again.
And you're sick again. It's just been a really crazy month. But we're surviving it. And not to mention the weather. The weather played a role too, because there could have been a couple other days we could have gotten together, but traveling, getting around here in Texas, around the DFW area, Dallas-Fort Worth, was just too risky.
We had some ice days.
And Texans do not drive well any day of the year, but especially not well days. On icy days. And there's no way we're going to risk that. And of course, Dwayne got into an accident.
Oh, the last time.
Yeah. So it's been really rough. Pray for us. Pray that Haystack Nation does not
dwindle,
fall apart, and crumble. We're a fairly new nation, huh?
We're getting it done, though.
We're getting it done. Want to remind everyone, like us on Facebook, go to Instagram, YouTube, like us, check out our videos, our library of podcasts and videos. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean. And if you get crazy and you feel like you just want to reach out to us, feel free to email us at haystacknation@gmail.com. I don't know.
We have an email?
We do have an email. I know. It's been secret.
I did not know
It's been hidden this whole time. But I just figured, it'd be nice for if people want to reach us for some reason. They want to say hi.
Or come visit us.
Or, they want to say, hey, come out. You guys, we're inviting you to our church to hang out.
Or we have a testimony.
Yeah, you have a testimony you want to share with us. We can get you over the phone and we don't have to be here in studio. We have the capacity
AKA our dining room.
Our dining room. Don't reveal our location, Vanessa. If you want to, again, share anything with us, or you want us to go on location to where you are, you have an event coming up, or just, you want to invite us. We get lonely.
I was going to say, we're lonely.
We're lonely sometimes. I'm just putting that suggestion out there for anyone that wants to reach out and, just let us know if there's anything we can do for you. So again, Haystack Nation, no spaces, no weird symbols, just haystacknation@gmail.com. We'd like to hear from you.
Yeah.
We were going to talk to Dwayne today, or at least this month, about his recent trip to Kentucky. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go because we had COVID in the family, and I was exposed, and all that comes with that. So I wasn't able to go. But Dwayne did go out to Kentucky and, help out there for the second time, because he went earlier or last year when the tornadoes first broke out.
Yes.
And he was out on site and helping out with the relief efforts, and he went out there again. I was supposed to go with him in January, and that didn't work out. But he had a good experience, and I wanted him to share it. But we'll catch up with him next time and ask him how all that went down. He's been wanting to share it for a while, so we'll catch up with him next time. So do you remember when you were a kid? Do you remember that, Vanessa?
That was only like 5 years ago.
Okay, that's not true, everyone. That would be weird, Vanessa, okay? Because then people would be questioning our relationship. Yeah. But when you were a kid and Valentine's Day came around, you go to school.
Yeah.
And then what would they do? What was like one of the traditions or one of the customs at school during Valentine's Day?
Well, you always made a Valentine's Day box, and then everybody would, the classroom would fill up with Valentine's Day cards.
Yeah, it was a very traumatic time for me.
Why?
I was always afraid that no one was going to give me a card.
Well, teachers make it mandatory that you give everyone a card.
I know, when you figure that out, it makes it even more depressing. It's like, oh, they didn't want to give it to me. They had to give me something.
Well, you were looking at it the wrong way. Like, oh, whether you like me or not, you have to give me a card.
I guess you can look at it that way. I don't know. I just always felt like, I don't know why I had this fear of always being left out, especially when I was a kid. I just always felt like I'm going to be the one that's going to be left out. No one's going to like me. I guess I was just like
you had those friends that got the extra stuff from their secret admirers or crushes or whatever.
Yeah.
I did not get anything like that. I just got the mandatory cards.
You got the mandatory cards?
Yeah. I'll take it.
The generic cards?
Yeah. Nothing extra.
The ones that weren't actually in the box. They were the samples on the outside where you had to cut it out.
No, I didn't mean that. I mean like the ones that you had to give to your classmates.
Oh.
Not the extras because somebody liked you.
Yeah.
Or interested.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just kind of a weird time of year, Yeah. Valentine's Day wasn't
I can see that.
Valentine's Day wasn't like the, holiday I would look forward to.
I think it got like that for me as I got older because you didn't do that stuff. So if you just didn't get anything on Valentine's Day, you just didn't get anything on Valentine's Day.
Yeah. I'm a very insecure little child. An adult sometimes. So anyway, so the point is you had these cards, right?
Yes.
So I want to share some funny Valentine's Day cards. See if you ever received any of these, Vanessa. Okay. Here's one, for example. Here's some funny ones. The Valentine's Day card that says "I lava you." Get it?
Yes. I think, yeah.
You got one like that? Are you for real?
No, but I mean, it sounds familiar. So I don't know if it was because we had to buy some for our son this year for his class.
Yeah.
If I saw that at some point, or it just sounds familiar.
So next year when I give you a Valentine's Day card, it's gonna say "I'll lava you." Let's see, a couple of other ones. I love you with all my butt.
What?
Yeah.
Because it's so big? Like, that means a lot, or what?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, obviously the more
I don't know where they're going.
the more
with that one.
traditional phrase would be "I love you with all my heart."
Yeah.
So I guess anatomically speaking, maybe your butt's bigger than your heart.
Okay. Well, that's what I assumed when you said that.
So it's like, I love you with all my butt because
It's bigger.
that's how much I love you. So don't take it as an insult when I tell you that next time.
Okay.
Take it as you're the one that was talking earlier about being positive and looking at the positive side of things.
I said okay.
Okay. All right. Well, if anyone else out there wants to use that as well, just make sure
Don't.
it's someone that gets your humor.
Yes.
Don't go tell some random person, "I love you with all my butt." That might not turn out very well. How about you're the only one I answer the phone for?
Oh, I could see that in this day and age.
Yeah. Because when you get a number you don't recognize or you don't want to talk to someone, what do you do?
I mean, this day and age right now, nobody wants to talk on the phone. It's all about texting. So
That's true too. Yeah.
that's why I'm saying
That's another way to put it.
I can see it as
Yeah.
I'll answer when you call.
When you call, I'll answer for you.
Right.
That's special. That is so special. I mean, it's pretty sad that we think that that's special now, right? That you will answer the phone for me. Oh. All right. How about this one? If we were monkeys, I'd pick the bugs off your fur.
Oh, okay.
That's what monkeys do. So that's how they show love.
I know, but it's weird to.
So if we were monkeys, that's how I would show you love.
Okay.
I love you with all my butt, and I'll pick the bugs off your fur. That's the most romantic 2 sentences you could put
Wait,
together.
does it say if we were monkeys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why? What'd you think it said?
Well, I just thought I would pick the bugs off your fur, and I'm like, well, I'm not.
Oh yeah, sure, Vanessa. Let me just.
I was like, I'm not.
I
that
love you so
hairy.
much. I will pick the bugs off your hairy back.
He's just kidding. Back's not hairy.
Oh, that doesn't even make sense. I can't believe I'm not sick of you yet.
Wow.
That's a good one.
Wow.
I like that one. I can't believe I'm not sick of you yet. I think you do that one really early on in your relationship.
I was about to say these might be for like later on down the road
Yeah.
after you've,
Oh, here's one.
developed.
Here's one that's kind of cute. Baby Yoda, one for me. It's just got a picture of Yoda.
That's cute.
You've heard that one, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's kind of a cute card. This whole Baby Yoda thing has kind of taken off. This trend of Baby Yoda,
Yeah.
it's everywhere
cute.
now. I mean, yeah, he's cute, but
He's everywhere.
he is everywhere. He's even in your Valentine's Day card. Love you s'more.
Okay, that one's kind of cute.
You get that, Vanessa?
Yeah.
So it's got a picture on the cover of 2 s'mores.
Yeah, that one's cute. Did that require laughing?
Sarcastically. Let's see. Here's a couple of other ones. Oh, I expect this one from you at any Valentine's Day now. You're my favorite husband.
True. That's something I would say.
Well, thank you. Wait, what? You're my happy pill.
Oh.
I don't know. That sounds a little. Sounds like you have a
Where did you
problem.
find these? These are not as romantic as I was expecting.
Not supposed to be. They're supposed to be funny.
Oh.
How about this one? Still love you. Now that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Like, what's the big deal of it? But the picture on the card has a picture of a toilet roll that's empty, like on the holder, but it has the toilet paper sitting right on top of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just there's nothing that says I hate you like leaving an empty roll of toilet paper without a refill.
Oh my gosh.
So you can tell your partner really loves you if they leave you an extra roll of toilet paper to make sure that you don't run out.
Well, not just that, but why not just put it on the little rack? Why do you have to
you
just
forget
leave?
sometimes, you know?
Okay, well, you didn't forget
Hey,
to put it there.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you go to the restroom and you happen to pull that last sheet of toilet paper, like it always happens to you, right? Or to me, you always think to yourself, this always happens to me. I pull the last sheet, or the last.
Well, I will say
tissue.
at our house, I always make sure there's toilet paper.
But I'm about to say that if it happens in your case and you pull the last one, there's no refill anywhere, you should probably reevaluate the relationship with your partner.
Okay, well, we're going to have to talk after this.
You should probably start wondering, does my partner really love me? Because that's a sign of either love or hate.
Well,
If it's there, they love you. If it's not there,
you usually don't replace it.
are you talking about me?
Yeah.
Are you getting a little suspicious? Let's do a couple more. This one is kind of funny, but it's use it at your own discretion. I love you more than I hate farts.
I was drinking water.
I forgot to say, I hope you're not drinking anything while we're going through these. I should put that as a little disclaimer at the very beginning. I don't even know.
I don't even know what to say to that one.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. I want to hear someone use that one. Never gonna give up on you.
Okay.
Yep, never gonna give up on you. That's really romantic. And let's see. It turns out I like you more than originally expected.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good sign. All right. Yeah, we'll stop with that one there. That's a good way to end that one up. So anyway, what'd you think of those cards? Any keepers there?
Some of them are funny.
Some are funny, some are weird.
Yeah.
Some of them you really have to think about. I don't know how much you get paid to come up with cards like this.
I don't know. Valentine's Day is a very big holiday. So probably a lot.
How about this one? I'll read this one real quick. I definitely could not have tolerated me for this long. So that means if you've tolerated me for this long. Okay, this is a good one. Sorry, I know, but it was kind of funny. I love you this much. And it's got a T-Rex that's trying to spread his little arms out. Nice laugh, Vanessa.
Sorry, there's the tissue in my nose.
I would have made room for you.
Okay.
And it has a picture of the sinking Titanic with a person floating on a piece of debris. And I think that's a what do you call it? A reference to Leonardo DiCaprio drowning at the closing scenes of Titanic.
Yeah.
And she's floating on a piece of debris.
It was only big enough for her.
Yeah, well, this one says, I would have made room for you. Oh, man, love. Love is strange.
Sure is.
And the way we express love is strange and funny sometimes, but is it biblical? Right?
Is what biblical?
The way we express love. Like, you read these Valentine's cards, right? And you're just like, oh, that's funny, that's strange, that's weird, right?
Yeah.
And so we have our way of expressing love. We have our way of thinking about the concept of love, right? And we do it in many ways. And we got is it biblical though? I mean, is the way the world views love and the way that the Bible talks about love, are they the same thing? Are they two different ideas?
I kind of feel like it's two different ideas. Like the world's view about love is different.
Yeah.
What we learn about in the Bible.
Well, if you go based off those Valentine's Day cards, right? Do any of those capture the idea of biblical love? No. I mean, it's funny, right? It's entertaining and we laugh at it, but in reality, does that capture God's love? Does that capture, if God gave us a Valentine's Day card, what would it say?
I think it would say, I loved you so much that I gave you my son to die for you.
Yeah. Have a picture of a cross and his son hanging on it.
Oh.
It's called the Bible, right? I mean, if he would give us his Valentine, it wouldn't be a card, it'd be a book.
Oh, yeah. That's a good way of looking at it.
Right? I mean, if God gave
Bible.
us...
Yeah, because...
Yeah, I mean, because his love can't be expressed in a sentence.
Right.
It can't be expressed in just some kind of invisible way. I mean, if he was gonna say I love you, the most appropriate way to do it would be in the form of a book. He couldn't just give us a card, because a card would, we'd look at a card, we'd read it, and then we'd forget about it, But it's harder to discard or dispose of a book, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, in a way, the Bible really is an expression of God's love for us. And everything in the Bible, from beginning to end, shows and reveals the kind of love that God has for us.
Yes.
Right? I think it's in the book of John, the Gospel of John, his very closing passages in the book of John. He talks about how, I think it's John, someone can correct me, please put that in our comments. But I think he says that had all the things that Jesus did, had they been recorded or written down, all the books in the world cannot contain it. So again, the fact that he loves us so much and how he shows us that love is so huge, it's so big, it's so extraordinary that we can't capture it in small ways. He had to put it together in a book over centuries, over thousands of years, right? In order for us to hopefully, and this is the kicker here, it's like, I'll put it together for you guys, I'll do it over time, and hopefully you get it. Right? Because unfortunately what happens is that even though he has written it down for us, even though he's given us story after story, example after example, as you pointed out, even to the death of his own son, right? And sometimes, unfortunately, we still don't get it.
Right.
We still don't understand it. So let's kind of talk about this biblical love. So what is biblical love? What is biblical love, and how can we put it at least into some kind of words so we can begin to understand it? Well, biblical love, there was a Greek word that early Christians would use to describe this kind of love. Uh-huh. And you're familiar with this word, right? Uh-huh. Do you know what the word is? Agape. So this word basically kind of was a way to express a very charitable, a voluntary, by choice, no expectation, unconditional kind of love, right? Which is the purest kind of love. I mean, it's not forced. It's not, you're not expecting anything. It's not necessarily, something that you're going to do to expect a reward. It's a love that's just, it's there, and it's for the well-being of someone else, right? Without expecting anything in return. And so early Christians would use this word to express this kind of love. And it was a way to understand the way that God loves man and what God expects for us and how he expects us to love others. That was that agape. And of course, that's a very popular kind of term because that goes along with, what do we call it? You know, when we have these celebrations,
Like
an agape feast, right? And that's supposed to be where everyone, you come together with people, usually close friends or family, and you have this spread, and it's just a wonderful variety of foods and fruits and, just good stuff, right? I mean, it's not it's a very simple meal, but it's a variety of different things, simple foods. And so you come together and you just enjoy that meal, and it's an expression of, 'cause everyone brings something, right? That's the idea, that you bring something that you want to share with somebody else. And so you do it in the form of food because obviously people love to get together over food. And it's a great way to socialize. It's a great way to show appreciation and that kind of thing, right? So agape, where does this kind of love come from? I mean, Vanessa, do you have in you to have agape love for others?
Why do you say it like that?
Well, I'm asking you, but the question is in general. Do people, do we have it in us to show that kind of love for other people? Does it come from within us? Does it come from our nature? Does it come from?
It doesn't come from within us, but, God created us in his image, and that includes his character. And his character, part of his character is love. And so we are capable of having that love for others.
I like how you say it. We're capable of it, but it doesn't start with us.
Correct.
It's not something that comes from within. We don't have this fountain of just eternal love just flowing out of us, right? No. And although some in the culture today, you kind of hear that a lot, right? You kind of get the sense
but again, our idea, or the Bible's idea of love and what the world's idea of love are two different things.
Right.
So yes, it's used very loosely, I think.
Sure. I love Kleenex.
Yeah. I love my car.
I love my hair.
I love macaroni and cheese.
I love table. I love lamp.
Oh gosh.
Someone might get the reference there. But if I think if love was subject to our desires, our wants, and our feelings, it'd be ruined. It ruins it, right? Because think of any time that anyone has just made love the object of whatever they want, right? Mm-hmm. Usually, it turns out to be something bad. It ruins what love is. It ruins the charity. It ruins it's not about others. It's about oneself.
Right.
And so it doesn't come from within us. But I like what you said. We're capable of having that, but only if we're connected to God. Only if we have that relationship with him, right?
Right.
Because as you pointed out, it originated with him creating us in his image.
Yes.
And giving us a capacity for that. That was really good, Vanessa.
Well,
I have to
Jesse, I'm not just a pretty face.
No, you're not. Not today.
Wow.
Not with tissue hanging out your nose. I really agape you today, Vanessa. Really agape you today. Yeah, I like how you worded it though, because that is exactly. And we look at 1 John 4:8. It's in three simple words. It says it right there. God is love. Mm-hmm. Right. So it originates with God. So from the biblical perspective, love is not something that we own. It's not something that starts with us. It's not something that we claim for ourselves. It's something that we know comes from somewhere greater than us. And we're created with the capacity to be filled with this love and transmit that love to other people.
Yes.
Right? So as we're filled with God, we're filled with his goodness and his character, right? That fills us up. It recharges us. And then in our interactions with other people, we transmit that.
Yes.
That's how it's designed, right? God designed love to work that way.
Yes.
Now, you sever anything in that flow, and you're not going to have love.
Right. I mean, because as humans, we can have a certain amount of love. Like, I can love my children. I can love my husband. But when you think about, like God's love, it's just, there's no one that he doesn't love. And we ourselves don't have that type of love. Because, there are people who make life difficult for us, or there are people that are very hard to love.
I can name about a handful right now. No.
But what I'm saying is that when you have that relationship with God, and you understand that love that he has for you, it opens it up in you to love those people who are difficult to love. And you can't, that is not a human. That's not our human nature.
No. And it's not our human nature is to run away, to avoid, to be repulsed.
Right.
And to have prejudice even, right? Against people because we don't agree with them, or something about them
rubs us the wrong way, or they've done something to us, kind of.
And there are people sometimes that you just don't. They're bad people, they're toxic, and you just don't love them, But even in those situations, by our standard, right? We don't. That's not love, right? When we think about them a certain way, or we feel a certain way about them, even though we might be justified in some of our thoughts and feelings towards them,
right?
But that's not the same kind of way that God views those individuals.
Right. And you think about like examples of like, what comes to mind is like sometimes you have a family member who may have been killed by someone, and they, they caught the person who hurt their loved one. And then when that family or that parent or that spouse or whatever is willing to say, I forgive you, during one of the hardest times of their lives, you just think like, whoa, like that, again, is not something
Where did that
natural.
come from?
Where did that come from?
Right.
And I think the only way you can get to a point like that is if you have that kind of love.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You have to have God's love in your life in order to deal with those kind of situations the right way.
Right.
And that's very difficult. I mean, it's very difficult to, and I do think that there is discernment also when it comes to love. I don't think the Bible endorses just go out there and love everything and everyone,
right.
In the sense that you're just open and accepting to everybody. There is discernment in love, but we have to be careful to not let it be our own discernment of what we think we should be doing, but that in every which way possible, our discernment aligns with God's will.
Yes.
And that's very difficult to do. It's we can't judge people, on how necessarily they do that. We can't judge people at that level. But like First John, for instance, John talks a lot about, if you don't have love, you don't know God. And he spoke out against people that were coming into the church, into the circles of the Christian followers, and claiming to love.
God is love.
And they come and say, hey, God is love, accept us. But John was saying, you got to be discerning also in your love towards others. So there is a discernment that comes along. There's a wisdom that comes along with love. And I think we just can't be reckless with it. And I think that's what, if y'all...
I think that's the world's view.
I think that's the world's view. Yeah, just accept anyone and do anything and love everybody, all the same, and without regard for anything else. But that's not biblical love. Biblical love has a standard. Biblical love has discernment.
Well, if you think about it this way too, as parents, we love our children, and what do? Do we ever reprimand them for certain things that they do just because? Or are we doing it because we don't want them to get hurt? We want them to to be safe. So we are doing these things because we love our children.
Mm-hmm.
So we still have, like, if that makes it, does that make
Yeah,
sense?
there's a responsibility there to
Yes.
protect.
Yes.
Right.
And so, and that's how I feel like what you're trying to say is when God, he still has his laws, and he still has an outline for us,
There's still boundaries
yes,
there.
yes,
Right. That to maintain. But the thing is, we don't arbitrarily choose, oh, I'm going to love that person. Oh, I'm not going to love that person, for whatever shallow reasons that we may have, right? And God doesn't want us to go about life behaving that way. He doesn't want us to just be reckless with love and dilute it and make it our own and do what we want with it. There's a certain responsibility that comes, and that's why you have that relationship with God.
right.
Because God guides us,
Yes. Because right now the world is just love everybody.
Yeah.
No matter what, just love them.
Yeah. And it almost sounds like
Great. That's a great idea.
like a noble
Yes.
kind of love, right?
But the thing is like, again, there's a difference in the love that they're wanting to spread
Mm-hmm.
and the biblical kind of love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when you hear the world's view of saying, just love everybody, accept it, it does sound great. But when you go back to God's word and you have an understanding of what God's love is, then you look at the world's idea of love and it's like, yes, but you do love these people. But like you said, there's also got to be that discernment.
A responsibility also to protect God's character.
Yes.
A responsibility to protect the people, all people that are trying to follow after goodness, after righteousness, after God.
Right.
Right. And when you just allow whomever, whatever, to come into your life or to come into your home or to come into your church or whatever, you're being irresponsible to a certain degree, kind of reckless, because you're inviting influences into your life, right, that may persuade you to do things that are ungodly.
Right.
And is that what God wants? Does God, and do we say, well, that's just in the name of love?
Yeah.
No, we can't. Love is not a God. It is not what directs our paths. It is God who directs our paths. Love is a way that he draws people to him, right? Mm-hmm. To goodness, to his righteousness, to his perfection, to his holiness. And if we're just, being reckless with it, then we could damage and we could lead people astray, right? Because we're allowing influences all to come in, and not all those influences have a regard for God.
Right. Well, just think about David in the Bible and all the many wives he had.
Yeah.
Is
that
and
love?
they're, well, that was something else. But my point is that, he just loved all these women.
Yeah.
Not really love, but you know what I mean. But anyway, he allowed a lot of their beliefs to come into his home, which caused a lot of division.
Well, Solomon also.
Yes, both of them.
Did the same, right?
Yeah.
And think about all like I said, the division, the conflict.
Yeah. Everything that's happened with their families.
Yeah, it was pretty awful,
Yes.
because even though they may have felt at the time that this is right or this feels right or, this seems like a good idea, it backfired terribly and almost destroyed a nation.
They were just trying to make peace
Right.
with other nations.
Right.
So, yeah, this was a great idea.
Yeah, we're just trying to love everybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're the light on the hill here.
Right.
The shining light set on top of a mountain to draw all nations to us, right? So this is a way that we can demonstrate God's love for others. And look at it, what it did. It was reckless and almost destroyed the nation. Put them through a lot of suffering.
Yes.
And David and Solomon suffered in their personal lives because of that.
Yes.
Through what their sons did and what, through a lot of the relationships within their family and the people that they knew. It brought a lot of pain and suffering.
Yeah.
So you're right. Yeah, that's so we God's love is strong. It's extraordinary. It's all embracing. It's all encompassing, but it's defined also, right? It's not just a thing that you just. It's not just a concept you blanket over everyone and just say, hey, everything is open, equal, and fair, right? But there's a definite, and it's defined because it wants to bring us back to our Creator, to know Him better. How do you discover God's love? So when you're thinking to yourself, well, I want to discover this love, right? I want to be a part of this. I want to know this love more. What do? How do you discover it? Is it something you discover by research? I was in a graduate class when I did my master's for social work, and I don't know why. I think we're discussing, how to quantify certain things or whatever. And so the teacher asked, I don't remember, it was a boring class, but I do remember that the teacher asked this question: what is love? How do you quantify that? What is it? And we're talking about a room full of adults here, okay? Graduate level students, not high school students, not college students. You're talking about post-college, right? So, and do you know every single person in that room that answered the question? And there were several that answered the question. Everyone said it's a feeling. It's an emotion, something you feel. Every person. And I was kind of shocked. I mean, not one person said it's an act of charity. It's an act of goodwill.
Yeah, but just like any other feeling, like it can come and go.
Right. But I mean, we're looking at graduate level students here.
I know.
And none of them said, no, love is an act of goodness. Everyone said it was a feeling.
I've heard that too, that it's just a feeling.
It's just a feeling. That's all it is. It's just an emotion. It's an emotion.
And I will say, this came from a physician.
A very educated person.
A very educated person. I think he and I had this discussion before too.
Uh-huh. And so it's just a feeling we have. And like you said, feelings come and go, right?
Yeah.
So, and by that definition of love just comes and goes. So one minute I can be in love, the next minute I can be out of love.
Well, think about it. I mean, again, that's the world's view, because you have a lot of people in marriages who will say, you know what, I just don't love them anymore.
Yeah. Just don't feel the same way about them.
Don't feel the same way. I've fallen out of love with them.
Boy, we would have been divorced multiple times by now.
I was going to say, I mean, there are times where I'm like, oh, I love him, I love him, I love him, I love him, right? But I mean, if that's what we base our marriage on, then you're right. It's like we would have been like on and off.
Yeah.
So many times.
Yeah. It'd be a love-hate relationship, right? But I just remember that because I remember thinking, and I was just listening, I was just kind of listening to the answers. Yeah. I didn't respond. Probably looking back, I should have said something, but I think I was just kind of listening. And
you want to be the odd duck.
First of all, I don't want to be in a research class. So I was like, what am I doing in a research class? But I had to anyway. But yeah, I remember that. And so, again, how do we discover love? What goes into that? So we're going to discover love. What do we need to do?
Find somebody. I'm just kidding.
Who's that somebody that we need to find? We got to get to know God first, right?
Just like,
because again, God is love.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just going to be like when you're, you want to find someone to marry, you do find someone, and in this biblical love, it's God.
Yeah. And so next thing you do is you want to get to know that person. And so you find out things about them. And if you want to find out anything about God, the biblical God, you've got to obviously, read the Bible, open the Bible. Yeah. And get to know him, get to know the stories, get to know how he interacted with people.
And just like you would if you're dating someone, communicating. Mm-hmm. So prayer.
Yep.
Couple
of passages. You've got Galatians 5:22 talks about fruits of the Spirit. The very first fruit mentioned there is love. So God is love. That's one of his, fruits. Does God have fruits? It's one of his characteristics, right? Is love. And then in 1 Corinthians 13, which is a passage a lot of people know, what's that passage all about?
All about love.
All about love and what love is, right? Love is kind, love is patient, love is temperate, love is, you can go down the list and see what love is. So if you want to get to know what love is, get to know God. Yes. And in the Bible, it'll define the kind of love that God has and the kind of love that God wants us to have, right?
Yes.
Communicate with God. Just like we communicate with someone, and when you love someone and you're trying to get to know them, there's got to be dialogue.
Yes.
Because otherwise, that's called stalking. If I'm trying to get to know you without communicating with you, that's called stalking.
Wow. Okay.
But you got to communicate, right?
I think you did that to me for a little while before you
did
came
not
to talk
stalk
to me.
you. I observed.
There's a difference. I didn't follow you anywhere.
I didn't follow you anywhere. I just observed you. I watched you in public, open public.
Twilight or the Twilight.
Oh yeah, which is that one? Oh no, that's the one. That's a cricket one. But yeah, I mean, you have to have that communication, right? Otherwise, it's weird. So, how do you communicate with God? Prayer.
Reading His Bible.
Read the Bible, and you pray. Mm-hmm. Prayer is just simply conversation. It's dialogue with God.
Yes.
It is how you want to express yourself, open your heart to Him. Mm-hmm. It could be in the form of a request. It can be in the form of a praise, a word of gratitude. It could be in the form of, asking Him to reveal Himself to you. So when you pray, you're dialoguing, you're having a conversation with Him. And so we're not talking about meditation here. We're not talking about mantras. We're not talking about, things that you say over and over and over again.
Being still and listening for God's voice.
Listening.
Talk to you.
Yeah. So you dialogue, you talk, and then you listen.
Yeah.
And you communicate. That's how you communicate with God. Spend time with Him.
Yes.
So you gotta read the Bible. You got to pray and dialogue with Him, and then you also have to spend time with God. You can't just get to know someone and not spend any time with them.
Right. You
got to get to know the person. You're gonna have to spend some time with them. And right now, I know we live in a very fast-paced world where time just seems to fly. I know in our lives, right? I mean, we go to work, we come home, we have our home routine, and then it's like bedtime, and like, where'd the time go?
Right.
And so we got to make time if we want to get to know God. We have to have that time with Him, spend that time with Him.
I mean, if you think about when you're dating somebody, like I think about us, man, every single moment, we were excited to see each other, be with each other. I mean, we would be up till 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning talking, and I think that's kind of how our relationship has to be with God too.
Yeah. And we still didn't know each other.
No.
Completely, right?
Right.
So, spending time with God, you have to put,
I was saying in His Word.
And in His Word, it's going to take time, and it's never going to be something that you're like, okay, I spent enough time with God. I know Him already. You're always
it's something that's always, you're always going to grow. You're always going to find something new about God.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't tell how many times that I read a passage or I'm reading a story in Scripture, and it's like, I noticed something about God. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't see that before. I know the story. I know the story. I can recite the story, but wow, this time I really found something. I see the story in a different way, in a different light, and it tells me something about God. And so, look, the few years that we spend on this earth, right? You're always going to learn something new about God anytime you open the Bible and you read and you expose yourself to what Scripture is. You're going to find something new about God, right? You're always going to find something new about God. And so you're never going to get bored and get tired of it. God's always going to speak to you in some way, in some fashion, in some form.
Well, that relationship is never ending.
It's never ending. A few other things about God. He's always interested in dialogue. Isaiah 1:18, he's talking to the nation, to his people. He's saying, Come, let's reason together. Let's talk together. This is a difficult situation that we're in right now. Idolatry was like really taking over, right? And a lot of people were falling away from God, and God uses Isaiah as a prophet, as a messenger to say, come on, let's talk this out. Let's reason this out. Yeah. And so he's interested in dialogue. Romans 8:38, Paul's asking, can anything separate us from the love of God? No. Like nothing, no suffering, tribulation, nothing can separate us from the love of God. He said, I'm convinced of this because I've been through all of this stuff and I'm not separated from God's love. Nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. His love never wavers. You mentioned earlier before the podcast, we were talking about this, right? And you said it never wavers. You have the story of Adam and Eve. Yes. I mean, if anything's going to show that God's love doesn't waver, it's that story. Yes. Right? Here's another couple of other things before we wrap it up, because we're getting close. Well, we need to wrap this up here quickly or shortly. God's love doesn't wait for sinlessness. Right? God's love doesn't wait for sinlessness. In other words, for you to experience God's love, you don't have to be free. You don't have to be sinless.
No, he says, come as you are.
Come as you are. As a matter of fact, it even says he died for us, which is the ultimate expression of his love, while we were yet sinners. So for anyone that has this idea, I can only approach God. He'll only love me if I do the right thing. He'll only love me if I straighten out my life. He'll only love me if away those.
He even says that he didn't come he came to save the lost. Mm-hmm. Am I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. I was thinking of
I didn't come to call the righteous.
Yes, that's it.
Right? To repentance, but the sinners, right? So in other words, he came because that was our condition, is sin. Yes. He didn't come because he said, oh, the world is perfect now. He didn't come into your life, Vanessa, because he said, hey, Vanessa's perfect now. Now I can start working with her. Well, he definitely didn't come into my life because he said, well, Jesse's perfect. Now I can work with him now.
Right. And, I mean, we're all sinners.
Yeah.
We all fall short of that.
Yeah. So God's love does not wait for us to be sinless. Right. He wants to love you now. He wants to embrace you now, whatever condition you're in. He doesn't show favoritism.
Nope.
Right? Another important thing, his love edifies. What do you take away from that word edify? 1 Corinthians 8:1, by the way, you can find that there. I'm not putting you on the spot here. You did not prepare for this one.
I did not prepare for this one. What do I take from it? Edifies, like it. You really put me on the spot.
It builds you up, right? To edify is to build up. It's interesting in this passage, 1 Corinthians 8:1, he says, knowledge puffs up, but love edifies. And what he's kind of talking about there is that we can have knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. Like, for example, the doctor you mentioned, educated, knowledgeable, but also with knowledge sometimes comes a sense of superiority. I know more than you. Right? And because I know more than you, I have maybe the freedom to do things that you may not know about. Kind of puts you on another level. Yeah. But Paul says that's not love. Knowledge is not love. Knowledge is pride sometimes. Mm-hmm. Knowledge, again, makes you superior. He said love edifies. In other words, when you have love for other people, it's not about what they know or don't know or how much they know. Is that your role is to be someone in their life who can build them up, right? Mm-hmm. Who can bring them to Christ and build up that person. Mm-hmm. So that's another aspect of God's love. How do we show love? We'll close with this. 3 ways, Vanessa, that we can show love.
Forgiveness.
Yep.
Compromise.
You can compromise. So compromise. So forgiveness, obviously that just means, when you're wronged, you're open to forgiving that person, right? I've always kind of struggled with the idea whether they ask for it or not.
Yeah, I've
You
struggled
know,
with that too.
because I think-
I'm like, well, if they didn't ask, then I don't have to forgive.
Maybe that you don't have to, but I think there is something missing there if the request is not made. Do you forgive me? Because I think when we come to God, God also wants us to request that forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that there is something to that. If they don't ask for forgiveness, we definitely still have the opportunity to offer that forgiveness, right? To extend that forgiveness to them. It is harder. It's
very hard. I
But-
will say that.
But I think that's the right way to put it. You still extend that forgiveness to them. Whether they take it or not, that's on them.
Right.
But you extend it to them and you offer it to them, right? Whether they ask for it or not. I mean, Jesus died on the cross saying, forgive them for they know not what they do.
Yeah.
Compromise, patience, self-control, thoughtfulness, all that comes with just being in control of yourself. You can't express love when you're out of control.
True.
It's called abuse. And you can't express godly love, at least, right? When you're not, when your senses are not in the right place. So,
Good talk.
that's our episode on love. I could keep going, I guess.
Well,
But
we do have to end it.
all good things come to an end, except for God's love.
Oh, ba-ching.
That good thing never
Never.
comes to an end. And I'm so grateful for that, because I know you and I, we've experienced that in our lives.
Definitely.
And I hope our listeners experience that in their lives. Please get to experience it. Even if you feel you failed God in some way, He loves you. He wants to fill you with His love so you can transmit that love to others. Don't give up on it. Don't give up on God.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. God style. Haystack Nation style. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you back here next time on another podcast episode of Haystack Nation.